to Convo Fango. Today we are joined by the cast of X. We've got Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, and Brittany Snow. Yay! Guys, for sure this is going to be in my top two favorite movies of the whole fucking year. So I'm really excited we get to chat about it.
Cool. Thank you.
So thanks for making one of my favorites. I know it's early to call it, but I'm calling it. I'll like at the end of the year I'm going to go back to this tape and be like, I was right. Yes.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this takes place in 1979, and there's just something about 70s horror with like feathered hair, blue eyeshadow. We've got like sweaty, dusty Texas summer that makes it a lot of fun. What made you guys want to sign on for this? Like when you read the script, what is there something that popped out to you that just made you be like, I got to do this?
Yeah, a few things. First of all, I've been a fan of Ty's for a long time, and so that was really exciting to me. The idea that I would have the chance to work with him and A24. Even before I read the script, I knew that whatever it is they were about to go and make, they were going to execute it to a really high level. And once I spoke to Ty, and then I found out that I had might have the chance to play two characters at completely different life stages. That made me really eager to be involved in this film.
How about Brittany? Is there something like a particular something?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it was really enticing to get to play a character that could be taken as someone who is a caricature or an over-the-top version of a woman in the 70s, or even a horror genre sort of woman, and actually make it really based in reality and have her kind of outrageous sort of behavior be grounded in real life. Ty spoke a lot about like Dolly Parton, and I watched a lot of Dolly Parton, and I watched a lot of her movies and interviews, and I just felt like it was a really great opportunity to take a character that could be seen as over the top and actually make it something that was grounded and humorous at the same time. And I mean, the 70s, you can't go wrong with being a part of a film like that. And Ty, it was great.
I personally was very, very excited by the period piece aspect as well, just as such a fan. And I remember having a really lovely conversation with Ty, and The House of the Devil is also one of my favorite horror films. So I think I was just eager to see what he had come up with now. And I also was eager to see what that environment is like on set, working with a director who's so in control of his vision. He tends to write and direct and edit a lot of his own projects. So I know that whatever it was that we were making was going to be true to him. And given that I had been very impressed and very happily entertained before, I think that working on a job like this, that with a script that I had never seen anything like it before, and I knew wouldn't really come again, at least not anytime soon. I was very excited. I love horror. It's hard to turn down a horror project, let alone one that's as like unexpected as this one. And I wanted to work with the people behind it, people in front of the camera, and also I've never played a character like this before, and I thought it would be a nice, interesting way to kind of challenge myself.
Do you think Tara Carpenter would list X as one of her favorite scary movies?
Honestly, maybe. I don't know. I think she's a bit more melodramatic, kind of horror film. But I don't know. I think she might get a kick out of this one for sure. We all know how she feels about A24.
I mean, she's A24 stan, but she's like Babadook or bust also. So I don't know.
Very cool.
This movie is so quotable. I can't wait to watch it again because there's so many quotes that I was having such a blast with. Do you guys have a favorite line in the movie? Not either yours or from another character.
There was one, though, it's funny. There's one line that I found so hilarious because Ty would say it all the time. And then the fact that he wrote it into the movie was pretty genius also. But he would always say, don't harsh the mellow. And I guess that's an old 70s phrase. I'd never heard of it before, but he wrote it where Martin actually says it. And yeah, you're not supposed to like mess up the vibe, dude. Like it's kind of like don't harsh the mellow. So I took that with me.
Do you say that now? Is that like in your repertoire?
Yeah, I do actually, weirdly enough, and I still don't really get it, but I like it. I like the cadence.
Everything that Britt says in the film, I think she delivers it perfectly. I was just so just smiling the entire time and so entertained. And it was, yeah, I think, she's like, what'd you say? I only smoke Winstons, and like everything. It just made me laugh so much. It was done really well.
Likewise, I would say that anything that Britt says is easily quotable, but I do enjoy Pearl's bitch.
Oh yes, so
just
good.
like it's not the line, but it's the delivery and timing. It's just very satisfying.
Yeah. No, the delivery on these is just all like killer. Like this is one of those movies where people, it's just so fun because you're like cheering in the theater. You're like screaming at the screen and it's just like this interactive, really, really fun ride. And I'm so excited for people to like experience this, and I'm excited to be able to talk about it eventually when people get to see it.
Thank you.
And you guys are all playing such different characters, which is this really fun aspect of it. Very, very different women. And then you have this conversation and you kind of see the through line that it's like on the surface seemingly very different, but there's a lot of things that are also very similar. And I kind of like loved that moment of that all coming together.
I love that scene. I love the scene when we all talk about kind of our different sort of ideas of what our futures should be and the expectations of women in that time. I think there was an expectation, and we were all kind of breaking away from that in our own ways and in our own timing. And I liked that scene a lot because we're all playing different things, but we all have mutual respect for each other eventually. So
And it's very, as a whole, it's very sex positive, this movie, which is something I really loved because okay, these characters are going to go and they're filming a porn and it's the 70s. Like that could be a total exploitation film. And it like flirts with that kind of genre, but it's not actually an exploitation film, and it's way more about like it's like these empowered women that are like, this is what we want to do, and you kind of like support it or get the fuck out of the way kind of thing, which I just love that aspect of it as well.
definitely.
I think we have time for like one last question, maybe. Let's say if you guys are gonna have a kill scene and you just like have like a murder montage, what would be like the song that you would want playing as you're just doing your massacre and just like going through and mowing everyone down?
Ooh,
Jenna, your face is hilarious right now. You're like, what?
It'd be weird if you had this planned out already. You're like, oh, I know. I have this.
Oh, please don't look at my notebooks then. Okay.
That's really funny. I don't want to go first. I have no idea.
Maybe Elton John's "I'm Still Standing." That would be pretty psychotic.
That's amazing. I don't think that's been used in a movie yet, and now I really want to see that scene. But it's got to be you doing it now, because I'm like, that was you called it.
I think always like the creepiest death scenes are done to classical music.
Very
Like,
Clockwork Orange of you.
yeah, it inherently brings out something very strange. You know, when anybody's like at an opera and somebody gets killed behind the stage, I just find that juxtaposition of something so beautiful and so gruesome at the same time is something really haunting.
Nice.
It would be like the Elgar Suite with like Jacqueline Dupree, like that has like a great crescendo. I'm just saying that could be like
Oh, thanks. I'll take it.
comes to my mind when you say that. Yeah, I don't know what I wish that I had a good answer for this. But I feel like it would have to be something really hoppy. I don't want to say like Mr. Blue Sky, but I want to say like some sort of like, I don't know, it'd have to be like, I don't know, I can't give you a good one. I think that,
you can like eventually post it on Twitter or something when you think of it. I'll be like, ah, that's the answer.
Yeah, just out of the blue, it's a little creepy, but
I'm sorry, guys. I'm from Fangoria. I'm here to do a creepy interview with you. I don't know what you want from me.
sure.
All right. Thank you guys so much. That's all the time we have. X is our next cover. So we've got this really grotesque picture of Jenna with her disgusting finger on the cover, and we're really
I
excited
saw
about
that.
it.
It looks awesome.
cool. That was so cool. I couldn't even believe it when I saw it. I was so excited. It's like my cover ever.
Awesome. All right. Thank you guys so much. It's been awesome. And thank you for making one of my favorite movies of the year. Guys, we are joined by the man, the myth, the legend, director Ty West.
All right. Hopefully I can live up to.
You already have. I was telling the girls earlier. I was like, you guys made this for sure is going to be in my top two favorite movies of the year. Definitely.
Okay,
I'm
right
calling
on.
it early.
All right, very good. Well, that's one away from the top, so I'll take.
That's. I didn't say it's number two. I just said it's in
Okay,
top two.
yes, you're
It's
saying
like
there's a chance. All right, good.
you guys are right there. Yeah. So you're saying there's a chance. Absolutely. You know what? I didn't think anything was gonna like beat House of the Devil for me as far as like my favorite Ty West, but I think this might be my new favorite Ty West film.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good to know because it's been a minute since House of the Devil, so it's good to re-up.
Yeah, it was worth the wait, 100%. Absolutely. I was like cheering in the theater, it was a good time.
That's the hope. That's the hope with this movie is that it's that people just have a really good time with it.
I'm definitely going to go see it again opening weekend because I think this is for sure the kind of movie. It's like when you love horror movies, this is what you want to see, Like this is
Yeah,
kind
I
of
don't
like
think
the.
I'd ever made a movie that was necessary. I don't want to say this movie's designed to be seen with a crowd, but of all the movies I've made, this is the movie that I think will benefit the most from seeing
Mhm.
with a crowd of people. And I'm anxious because I've never seen it with a crowd, so I'm anxious to see how it goes at South by. But it'll be nice to put 300 plus people in a room and
Yes.
have their reactions. And my hope with the movie is that it's the kind of movie that when you see, you tell your friends like, I don't want to tell you anything about it. You just have to see it.
Exactly. So now this interview is over. I don't want to tell you guys anything about it. Just go see it. Just
Exactly.
kidding.
That's all you need to know.
I'm so excited that you get to actually experience it with an audience at South by Southwest, though. I think that's going to be so much fun for you.
But it'll be good. I mean, it's relatively traumatic, so it's a little bit like hearing your. So I'll kind of like, I'll pace around the lobby and stick my head in every once in a while when I know something's coming that hopefully we'll get a laugh or a scare or something like that. The actual experience of just watching it is just like just sweating the whole time.
Well, when I say fun, I mean like you throw up on yourself a little bit, you do some
Yeah,
pacing.
and
It's
in
it's a
that
good
case, it's gonna
time.
be very fun. Yeah.
It's so fun, good old fashioned fun. So there's this like there's a theme in here of basically like youth is fleeting, make the most of it, and like chasing dreams and the thrill of like being young and the possibility of like realizing those dreams, and then also the flip side of the coin and the duality of like maybe when you're towards the end of your life and maybe unrealized dreams, and then how we kind of cope or don't cope with that actually. What inspired that kind of idea, that concept?
Yeah, I mean that was very well put. I mean that was essentially the thematic idea of like I don't know what the sort of villains, quote unquote villains of the movie would be based on. It just felt like it felt like something relatable to everybody and not necessarily personified in a horror movie, or let's say widely personified, I should say. So it just was an idea I had kicking around. I was like, this feels a little fresh, and this feels like a good place to start for a movie. And so, but yeah, I mean, you summed it up quite well.
All right, well, thanks. There's a lot of duality in this, and I don't really want to speak too much on it because I feel like that's kind of a fun
Yeah.
element of it. But just I don't know. I also like was that you tapping into your own fears a little bit as far as like getting older and what that means, or is it just kind of you were like this is kind of like a widespread, especially in our society, the way that we view aging? Was that kind of like tapping into the fears of the audience, or like a little bit of both?
I mean, it's hard to say what people will take from it. I think just sort of existentially speaking, it's something that everybody deals with in their own way.
Mhm.
But to me, I was interested in the idea that like when you're somewhere you don't want to be, you have this idea that if I can only get to this other place, everything will be fine. And then oftentimes you get to the other place and you go, if I could only be back to where I was, everything would be fine. And this is like the sort of calamity of life sometimes, and I felt like again like that just seemed like the good impetus for like where a horror movie could like grow out of. So there isn't necessarily a specific message or anything that anyone should specifically take away from it. It's just sort of like tonally speaking, there's something interesting about ambition to be something, and resentment if you don't get it, or envy if you don't get it, or regretfulness if you don't get it. And like that just all is like a complicated thing that everybody has to deal with in their own way.
So the way that I phrased it to you, I actually was just giving away my own fears by saying like this is what the scary part of this movie is.
That's right. Yes.
Ah, sucker, I fell right into it.
The movie works.
Fuck. The effects in this, in the gore, are so fun, and like just some of these kill scenes, I'm like literally was just like screaming and cheering at this, and that just had to be so fun for you to get to like create that stuff.
Yes, it's very fun to hear that. It's fun to come up with the idea to do it. It's not necessarily that fun to make it because it's so technical, and you're trying to do something very specific and very difficult. So if it doesn't work, It's incredibly frustrating if the blood doesn't do what you want it to do and you got to clean everything up and you're running out of time and the sun's going to come up. So actually doing all of the horror stuff in horror movies, I find to be like very tedious and very stressful. When it's all done, I love to be like, oh, of course, I'm glad you liked it. But yeah, I mean, I never made a slasher movie. I was going to make a slasher movie. I didn't want to make a soft slasher movie. And I wanted to make a movie where the many crafts of filmmaking were on display. And so we had the amazing Weta Workshop working with us. And it was just like, if we're going to do it, like if you're going to get wet, you might as well go swimming. So when you come see this movie, certainly for the Fangoria fans, like you will get some practical, slasher film murders in it.
Yes, get wet with Weta, I think is their tagline, right?
Yeah, that should.
Yeah, we have some of that disgusting gore on our next cover. We've got Jenna Ortega's broken finger, and it's just so grotesque and disgusting, and like the look of absolute horror on her face just like kills you. But it's also like just like you want to stare at it because it's amazing, but also it's like disgusting, and it's kind of like the whole movie. It's like, this is so gross, and I love it.
Yes, we all had poor Jenna with that, but then also Jenna gave us the finger with that many times. But yeah, no, it's one of the more unpleasant moments in the movie. So I'm glad
Yes.
it's the cover.
The all of the unpleasant moments are like very pleasant though. It's a good time.
Yeah, if anything, like the movie, for as like gnarly as it can be, I mean, really the hope for the movie is that people who not just love horror movies, but people who love the movie experience in general, like I'm hoping people go see this movie and they just like have a good time. And we've all been locked up for a couple of years. And if you're going to go see a movie, I'm hoping it's a movie that like, you tell your friends you want to go see because you got to see it. It's crazy. I don't want to tell you why, but to allude to what you said earlier, like the less you know about it, the better. Not because it's full of twists and turns per se, but because like there's just a lot of fun stuff that happens in the movie that it's good for people to experience for the first time.
Absolutely. Just kind of like surprise. Like
Yeah, exactly.
Can you tell us just a little bit about kind of creating the world of 1979? Like you absolutely just like immersed the audience in that, and that was part of the fun escapism for me at least.
Yeah, I think escapism is part of it. I think for me, if I watch a modern movie and people are looking at laptops and phones and things like that, I tend to think about my daily life or what I don't get transported away as much, not all the time, but oftentimes. And so for me, period movies, they give an opportunity to like put you into a world. It doesn't have to be less like a Jim Henson movie world, but it could be a world of 1979 because you are somewhere else. So that's appealing to me as a filmmaker and as an audience. And then narratively speaking, the Wayne character is trying to get into the movie business from the outside. And in the mid 70s is when VHS started to become a viable option. And so the late 70s leading into the 80s was like, if you were going to get in early and be an outsider to the film industry, but be able to make movies and profit off, say, this new home video market, that would be the time. And then for me, the movie's very craft focused, like filmmaking wise. And the 1970s is probably the most revered time for American cinema as far as like auteur-driven movies and large commercial movies that were still a little bit experimental or a little subversive, and were just sort of challenging audiences. And so I just am charmed by that era.
As a total film nerd, those parts were very exciting for me, like those little references in there. I was like, oh yes, this is so fun and exciting.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people going to see this movie are going to have that same feeling about
Yeah, I
those
think,
little
I mean, if
combinations.
anything, like it's a movie for movie lovers. I mean, horror lovers, sure, but just movie lovers in general. Like I'm hoping that when people see this, they're just like, oh, like this movie loves movies.
Yes, absolutely. And it very much has that vibe. This movie loves movies, and I love it because I'm having a blast watching it.
Yeah, good. Well, that's the goal.
Achieved. Well done, sir.
I appreciate it.
All right, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much. I'm glad we got to chat about this. X premieres at South by Southwest and will be in theaters March 18th, and that's all we're going to tell you about it. Go see it.